Hey guys, it's Jenny. I'm here with another day of prepping for painting. So maybe not the most exciting, but actually the most kind of interesting work I do, I think. I suppose interesting is debatable. If anyone actually watched this, you can debate me. Please do. Although my best friend is watching, so, that's someone. I'll take it. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is these are the paintings I did in my last session. I've been working last week. Thank goodness I have some work. So I was like, I haven't done much in the last week. So it's actually, yeah, I'm way behind. But I have a bunch of paintings I can work on now. So basically I'm taking what I painted in my last session. I'm taking the paintings off of the sketches underneath so we can put different sketches underneath and kind of trace those for the next round. But first I'm going to sort them out and see which ones I think are, quote unquote finished, which is a complete personal preference thing. And I was like, lately I've been loving specifically like the one that I just undid with the little drawings of the squares, outlined squares. As you can see at the end of this video, there is going to be a lot of them. I think I finished, it was in the 20s today. I think it might have been 24. Again, I recorded this maybe a week ago, so I don't remember. Don't tell anyone. But yeah, I was like, I'm really happy with the progress I'm making. My stack of papers, or of sheets of paper from this book that I'm doing is much smaller. I'm going through this a lot faster than I thought. So thank you, accountability of putting videos on YouTube. Did not realize that would be so fun. Plus I'm learning a little bit about video editing, which I have not done since college. And very clearly I have a lot to learn. Definitely not a professional. Don't know what I'm doing. Figuring it out as I go. Yeah. So today, again, I was told to talk about that car accident that soon after I was diagnosed as diabetic, because there's kind of a weird story behind that. How do I start this? So I've also kind of told you that my mother passed away in my when I was about 20, I think I was 22 at the time. And this car accident happened like within the year. I think within a few months actually of her passing away. And it was a car accident. I like to tell people my car decided to end its own life. It did not have anything to do with me. But what happened was the safety latch on my hood failed. And so I was on the highway and my hood of my car came and smashed in on my windshield. Super scary. Do not recommend it to anyone. Though totaled my car and I got a payout, so that was nice. But yeah, I was like, the car decided to end itself. It's not cool, guys. But yeah, I was like, the funny thing about that story is, when I was younger, I was like, my mom would, drive me most places, as most, I guess, mothers do. But I remember at some point, she actually talked about what to do in this particular super rare, never really gonna happen situation. But she told me, and here's what you do in case anyone else is ever in this situation. What you do is immediately take your foot off the gas because you can no longer see what's in front of you and you're at highway speeds. It's scary as all get out, to be honest. But you take your foot off the gas, you immediately put on your hazard lights, and then you try to remember where anyone was around you. So luckily I was in the right-hand lane, so I knew that I just needed to pull off onto the shoulder. You can't see at all what's in front of you. I believe it was a Sunday morning. So I worked at a coffee shop, and I really liked working the Sunday morning shift. So yeah, I was like, you take your foot off the gas, turn on your hazard lights, and very, very slowly start pulling onto the curb. But you have to do it also very quickly because you can't see what's in front of you. So the faster you do it, the more, like, the longer it takes, the more likely you're going to hit something. So it's like you both have to do it really fast and really slow. And then you pull off. Luckily, you can still see out of both of your like front window, or your like your driver's side and your passenger side window, so you can kind of tell when you're off the road. And then because I could barely get off the road, I knew that there wasn't a huge shoulder. I was in shock because that scares the living daylights out of you. So I remember I crawled. I did not get out out of my side of the car. I crawled over to the passenger side of the car, and I got out of the car, grabbed my purse and my cell phone, and had no idea what to do. This was, of course, I know cell phones were a thing, where I think I may have had a smartphone, but I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't. I don't think I did. Mm-hmm. No, I did. I had a smartphone. I had like an iPhone 4 or something like that. But I remember I had no idea what to do. Started calling people. So I started calling my dad, because my mama had passed away about 6 months ago. So the first thing I did was call my dad. His phone was off because it was Sunday morning and he was at church. And I called my sister, and her phone was also off because it was Sunday morning and she was at church. And here I go sorting them. So obviously the pile on the right is ones I think I need to do an additional layer on. And then the pile that is on the left is ones that I'm finished with. And you can see I have kind of a predisposition for the ones with that like outlined grid. Those are really pretty. But yeah, called my mom. Or no, called my mom. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Called my sister, called my dad. Neither of them answered. I had no idea what to do. I was like, logically, I should have like looked up a tow company but I didn't. I was in a car accident. I probably should have called the non-emergent 911. I didn't. I called 911. I am in shock at that point, like very much in shock, and I could not stop crying. So I'm on the phone with them, and I'm like, here's what happened in a car accident. And they're like, are you okay? And I was like, I am 100% fine. I am just in shock and cannot stop crying. And they're like, are you sure you're not injured? And I was like, not injured at all, just kind of in shock. Can't stop crying. I was like, I'll get there. It's okay. Like, you can have a rational conversation with the crying girl. I'm like, logically, I'm here, but like, I can't stop crying because, oh God, what do you do? Anyways, but yeah, eventually I got tow truck. Again, I hauled it to not a body shop because I couldn't I didn't know where to bring my car. I brought it to like the mechanics that we usually use because I'm dumb. I was 22. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know what to do when you got in a car accident. So by the way, just like tell your kids what to do when you get in a car accident, because no one ever told me and I didn't know what to do. And then I needed someone to pick me up because again, the guy towed my car to a place. It was Sunday. Of course, the place wasn't open. Luckily, I was able to kind of like shut the doors and lock the car. But again, the window shield is like crunched in the front of the car. And by the way, yes, glass did come in. I must have been wearing sunglasses. I have no idea how I didn't get glass in my eye. I didn't have glasses at that point in time. I do now, mostly just for driving. But yeah, I'm coming to the end. See, look, I finished a lot today. Good job, me. So here's just a list, or just the pile of kind of tracings that I kind of go through. And again, they're all kind of grid-based drawings that I have kind of blown up to certain ratios. So yeah, I was like, that's kind of what I'm choosing through. And in the next bit, you'll just see me kind of figure out what I think would complete the piece or look nice. Again, there's also some blank pages in there, so they'll start out with my first layer. And I'll just figure out, what I think would look nice. And again, when I have the blank pieces of paper, I'm also flipping them over to see which side I think is the prettiest, because I don't know. I pick the prettiest side and I work with that one. But yeah, the ending of the story was I ended up calling my best friend, who is, of course, the one listening to this and watching. Hi. I called her mom. Her mom's a pastor's wife, so she had her. I think she called her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm at church, but I'm gonna have my mom come and get you." Or maybe it was right after church ended. It would have been around noon. But anyways, her mom came and picked me up. So I couldn't get a hold of anyone who was actually like at church, but I managed to get the pastor's wife to come pick me up. Oh God, my life was so weird. Lost in 22. Remember your 20s? It was a long time ago. Feels like a half a lifetime ago. Especially after you lose someone, because especially someone that's really close to you. You get really like mentally old, and it's hard to relate to people after that. But anyways, that's the story of the car accident. And again, 2 days later, I ended up in the hospital with a blood sugar that was in like the 600s. Yeah, and again, there isn't any like medical kind of quote unquote proof that you can get adult onset type 1 diabetes from car accident or from traumatic events, but that's how my story went. So yeah, I guess some people are just genetically predisposed to just having a situation of some form that triggers that kind of autoimmune response of killing off your pancreas, which is stupid. It's stupid pancreas, or stupid autoimmune, whatever, kills off my pancreas. But yeah, that happened. And then I also was told I should talk a little bit about these drawings that I'm sifting through and how that they were made. So I would always consider, I guess someone in college told me that what I do is algorithm art. I'm not sure that I would call it that, as it's much more manual. I would call it chance-based. Almost, yeah, like chance-based art. I like art that I don't have to make the decisions myself. And again, I'm making decisions right here when I'm laying them on top of each other. That's about the most decisions I make. That and what color or what to paint with. But I like that I think some people are meant to make art from nothing, like art out of nothing. And I'm not sure I'm one of those people. I like the meditative part of making something. So this is decisions that I didn't really make. And how I made these drawings. Okay, I need to better explain how I did this. And again, I made these in like high school, maybe early college. But I would take like dice, literal dice, and I would kind of formulate a scenario of, I would throw a dice, and something like the one that's on screen now, like I would throw a dice, and if it said 7, I would move 7 places and put one, fill in a square, and then throw a dice again. And it was I bought a lot of D&D dice. Shockingly, never played D&D, but I have quite a collection of D&D dice. So it was like, I have dice that are like 7, 12, 8, like 6, 8, 7, 12. I think I even have a 20. Yeah, I have quite a few. But yeah, and then, like certain ones, every other one I would fill in a square all black and then outline it. I think like the one that has those beautifully like outlined squares, I would throw 2 dice. Like the larger of the 2 dice would be how many squares I move, and then the second dice would be how many squares I outlined. And then you just kind of like a, like a writing piece of paper, just follow that kind of equation that I've made out to fruition, and see what happened visually. And I was like, I always liked that I was not in control of these. These were kind of artworks made by the universe, or if you believe in a god, by a god, or you know what I mean? It's not something that I created the situation. I didn't create how it actually turned out. Like, I created the equation. I didn't create the solution. So yeah, I was like, that's kind of what happened. Yeah, that's kind of what happened with those. Every once in a while, especially with the ones that have the really long lines in them, I would use a random number generator. I did not like usually how those looked. They looked literally probably the same, but somehow I found that I didn't like that a computer was doing it. So I was like, I don't know. I just didn't really want to. I just didn't like how that looked in general. But yeah, I mean, really, I'm giving you, we could call this a form of conceptual art, as it really is art based on a concept, and anyone could recreate it. Again, how I did each individual of these sketches that I'm working off of, I don't know if I remember. Sometimes I wrote down how I did them, sometimes I didn't, because I was young and stupid. But ideally, anyone could kind of recreate these scenarios and yeah. And I was like, usually, and what I'm looking for in order to have them quote unquote finished is usually they need more than one layer. Sometimes the paper behind them is interesting enough that I think that's a beautiful other layer. And sometimes they need a few layers. Oh, and here's what I finished for today. It was a really big stack of drawings. So yeah, this is going to be my next day. I might do that this weekend, coming up. And then, I guess I'm almost done, because here comes what I finished in that day. So yeah, they're really pretty, and I love I love the outline squares. I think they just look so beautiful. But anyways, I will let everyone go. Thank you to anyone who's watching. Yeah, have a good night.